We're still celebrating 25 years of joy with you. Good evening to you. Welcome to Business Live. My name is Aboagye-Wiafe. Coming up this evening, Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta justifies decision to possibly draw down on Heritage Fund to support stimulus package for businesses. We'll be getting a reaction from an energy expert. Also coming up, Member of Parliament Finance Committee John Jinapor says minority will vehemently challenge any attempt to amend the Petroleum Revenue Management Act to enable government to utilize the Heritage Fund. And some banks are re-strategizing to meet peculiar demands of customers during the lockdown period. I'm bringing to you details of all these stories, plus more in this edition of Business Live. Don't go away. Thank you very much for making a date with me this evening on Business Live. Let's settle down for our very first story in the petroleum sector. Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta has justified the decision to possibly draw down the Heritage Fund to support proposed stimulus package for businesses. The minister, in his coronavirus alleviation program presentation, proposed amending the petroleum laws to possibly withdraw from the Ghana Heritage Fund. This is to undertake urgent expenditures in relation to the coronavirus pandemic. He was briefing Parliament yesterday.
I'll now update the House on measures government is proposing to close the fiscal gap. Since we are faced with extraordinary circumstances which require extraordinary measures, we would like to propose the following measures for the consideration and support of the House. A. Lower the cap on the Ghana Stabilization Fund from the current $300 million to $100 million in accordance with Section 23, Clause 3 of the Petroleum Revenue Management Act. This measure would enable the excess amount in the GSF account over the $100 million cap to be transferred into the contingency fund consistent with Section 23, Clause 4 of the PRMA. The amount transferred in the contingency fund will be used to fund the coronavirus alleviation program, CAP. Through this process, an estimated 1.25 billion Ghana cedis will be transferred into the contingency fund to fund the CAP. Mr. Speaker, we therefore wish to seek approval from this August House for the Finance Minister to use the funds which will be available in the contingency fund to fund the coronavirus alleviation program. B. A range of Bank of Ghana to defer interest payments on non-marketable instruments estimated at 1.2 billion Ghana cedis to 2022 and beyond. Adjust expenditures on goods and services and CapEx downwards by 1.248 billion. Secure the World Bank DPO of 1.716 million Ghana cedis. Secure the IMF credit facility of Ghana cedis 3.145 billion. Reduce the proportion of net carried and participating interest due GMPC from 30% to 15%. Amend the PRMA to allow a withdrawal from the Ghana Heritage Fund to undertake emergency expenditures in periods of national emergency. We would like Parliament to consider it in its own time.
And the chairman of the Finance Committee of Parliament, Dr. Mark Esibe-Yeboah, has meanwhile supported the use of the Heritage Fund in dire circumstances like the outbreak of the current global pandemic. He implored both sides of Parliament to support such a proposal as the COVID-19 threatens the entire global economy. It would be more appropriate to utilize the Heritage Fund now.
Pandemic is both a health and an economic crisis. This virus has placed enormous strain on the global economy. Mr. Speaker, this is about social distancing. It means that there is restriction on the flow of goods and services. There is restriction on the movement of persons. It slows down economies. Mr. Speaker, this The world is going to experience a global recession this year. No country is left out. Mr. Speaker, a recession will be 2 quarters of negative growth. And so you will hear the minister project that our economy could grow at 2.8% or even 1.6%. It could even be negative. So these are not times for anybody to be partisan. These are serious times, and so let's be guided. Mr. Speaker, what is even more worrying is that a recovery will be slow and long. It could take 2 years for our economy to recover. Mr. Speaker, to return to pre-coronavirus growth levels means we have to make hard choices. We have to make hard choices. Mr. Speaker, I recall the General Secretary of the NDC saying in 2012 that we have to chop the heritage funds, his words. Mr. Speaker, if there is any such time where we have to dip our hands into the heritage fund, it is now.
Meanwhile, the minority has resolved to vehemently resist any attempt to amend the Petroleum Revenue Management Act, which prohibits the use of the Heritage Fund, which is set aside for future generations. There's an estimated $591.1 million in the Ghana Heritage Fund.
I looked at the budget, 2020 budget, and that is why the other day, Mr. Speaker, I kept insisting that the contingency fund ought to be given enough money. Indeed, the Petroleum Revenue Management Act stipulates that the minister, through the approval of Parliament, can put a cap. Indeed, if you look at the 2020 budget, the cap was about 300 million. Today, the minister is proposing to withdraw more than 200 million, because once you cap it at 100, it means that the excess will go into other areas of expenditure. Mr. Speaker, in times of such difficult moments, what we expect leaders to do is to show commitment and lead by example and lead by demonstration. Mr. Speaker, in this difficult moment, in this hard moment, when ordinary Ghanaians are sacrificing, like the minister said, when hotels, businesses are laying off workers in order to ensure that they cover their costs, this is the time for His Excellency President Akufo-Addo to reduce the size of the bloated ministers that we have in this country. Mr. Speaker, His Excellency President Akufo-Addo must demonstrate leadership. He must demonstrate commitment. He must send a signal to the people of Ghana that he is indeed in charge and he is prepared to sacrifice. Mr. Speaker, we cannot ask the ordinary Ghanaian to tighten their belts when we do not even have belt holes in our belts, Mr. Speaker. That is what is happening today. You cannot have a ministry that has 4 ministers in a particular ministry. Mr. Speaker, you cannot have a system with all those bloated presidential staffers feeding on the peps of government. Mr. Speaker, the minister says that he wants to review the Petroleum Revenue Management Act and eat into the Heritage Fund. Mr. Speaker, I, as a member of Parliament for the Yape-Kusogo constituency, support any decision to cap the stabilization fund. This side of the House would help the minister, would help government to go through this challenge. But Mr. Speaker, as for the Heritage Fund, any attempt to eat into the Heritage Fund, we shall resist it vehemently and we shall resist it.
Very interesting comments there from both sides of Parliament. We want to get an expert view, of course, an independent view from an energy expert, and we joined via Skype by Ishmael Jakomhini, who is also the Executive Secretary for Skype. Now, Ishmael, good evening. Welcome to Business Live. Now, we are in difficult times, obviously. Do you support a cap on the stabilization fund?
What has been intended in difficult moments like this was set up to help stabilize the ship. So that's the intended effect. The problem we've had in the country is that we started seeing in the stabilization fund even before it became necessary. When we started introducing in, I think, 2015 or 2014. That was the beginning of this situation that we find ourselves in. The framers of the Act always envisage a situation where we allow the fund to grow to the level where we can rely on the fund in difficult. The moment we cap it and restricted to 2 million at a time, we never succeeded in building the fund to the levels where it's. So yes, the stabilization was meant, and I think the minister wouldn't have assessing that fund.
Now, I believe you are aware that we set this law for unforeseen contingencies, and this is a perfect example of the situation. Now, do you think that capping the amount of the stabilization fund, which already has been accessed, will do us any good as a country at this time?
Well, like I said, the stabilization fund is the only problem is that we didn't allow it before we started harvesting. So whereas the money in that fund could be worth in excess of $1 billion, now we have a little about 300 million. It's not going to cap that. So yes, the law also allows them to set the cap, beat the cap, and under the circumstances, the stabilization fund is a basis for them to go into the stabilization.
All right, now let's turn our attention to government's proposal to utilize the Heritage Fund for the purposes of the coronavirus alleviation program. What's your take on this?
That's a difficult thing for me to support, especially having been part of the group that actually establishment of the Heritage. There's always a reason why we argue that we should spend everything that we earn from petroleum, knowing very well that combustible resource that come a few years and would definitely be any petroleum resources the annex. So it will be very difficult for me to support that proposal. But under the circumstance, if the alternative would be for us to go and borrow to probably fund the car, then I would say whatever money is taken out of the Heritage Fund should be treated as a loan that has to be paid back as and when the economy. It should never be treated as a excess cash that's going to be spent, because tell you what, Emmanuel, we've already spent about $4 billion of oil money. Those of us living today, that's what we've done. So the little money that we said we're going to put aside for the future, imagine if we haven't saved that money and we had to utilize it, where were we going to get 591? So yes, if the alternative would be for us to borrow to close this gap, then they should only take the money on condition that is the loan that has to be paid back to the Heritage.
You don't support amendment to the law, especially when in our administration we had heard comments to the fact that we could utilize the Heritage Fund.
No, you see, I'm saying that without the amendment, they can't touch it, but the law is clear. Not until we've exhausted. So I'm saying that if we have to amend that act, that amendment should set that whatever money is being taken out of the Heritage Fund, the loan that has to be paid. Because it cannot be taken as any cash that can easily be. There was a reason why the fund. And I pray that it becomes last resort and that we don't rush amend the act and where things will lie before we attempt to amend the act. I heard the minister saying that the parliament could do that at the whole time, but I honestly think that is the last resort. But even if they have to take that, then it shouldn't be it should be a loan, because that fund has to.
All right, many thanks for your input there. Ishmael Jakomhini is an energy expert. Away from that, some banks are re-strategizing to meet demands of customers during the lockdown period. There are anticipated challenges due to customer illiteracy. Now, though banks and other essential services providers are exempted from measures announced by government, online banking is considered safer for social distancing. However, industry players say patronage of online platforms for accessing bank services is on the downside, as the initiative has targeted lower to middle income earners. Nana Sensumeza has been speaking with officials of Aboagye-Wiafe Rural Bank.
The bank's operational area is captured in the lockdown enclave in Ashanti region. Operators in the food value chain, especially at the market, will be free to work, but some service sectors will be halted. With technology application, deposits can be mobilized and withdrawal effected, but only a few of the bank's clients can effectively use such platforms. Board chairman of Aboagye-Wiafe Rural Bank, Patrick Owusu, encourages literate clients to resort to leverage technology to reduce visits to banking halls.
Even before the pandemic, we had already positioned ourselves to, as it were, introduce mobile app, AKIB mobile app, through which our clients can deposit money through their phones, withdraw money through their phones, withdraw money from the bank to their mobile, their phones, from their phones to their accounts. So with this preparation that had already taken place, we will be able to serve our clients. Unfortunately, perhaps not all of them, because as I've said, most of our clients are on the small traders. But with this, I think it will catch up with everybody and we'll be able to serve our clients. So we position ourselves to continue to serve our clients.
Like any other business, the spread of the virus has negatively affected the banks. Mr. Owusu again.
We contacted a lot of people, the small-scale businessmen, the vendors, small-scale vendors. So we visit a lot of clients. Our mobile bankers visit a lot of clients. A lot of clients visit our banking hall on a daily basis. With this pandemic and the call for social distancing, it will definitely affect our operations.
Meanwhile, as its contribution to fighting the pandemic, the bank has donated personal hygiene items to hospitals and other health facilities in its catchment area.
Because of this, the fear and panic that was created because of this pandemic had made hand sanitizer short in the country. So now you can't even buy. Even if a facility has money to go and buy, you can't get it at the market. And if you think of producing your own, the items that are used to produce them are not in the market. So we're much grateful to the bank for providing us with such gift at this moment out of their social responsibility. It's very great. We very appreciate it.
Nana Asensumensa, reporting for JoyNews.
Meanwhile, some businesses, including financial institutions in the Eastern region, say the outbreak of the coronavirus is having a toll on their operations. Eastern Regional Correspondent Kofi Siao says while some operators admit the pandemic is positively affecting their business, others say there's been a downturn in patronage of their services following the spread of the COVID-19 globally. Parts of the country have been locked down for 2 weeks to help contain the virus.
One of the measures medical authorities believe will help check the spread of the virus is the advice that people restrict movements. Government had earlier propagated social distancing protocols, all as part of measures to curtail its spread. At the Koforidua branch of the Aboagye-Wiafe Rural Bank, branch manager Philip Mamfrey expressed reactions over the effect of the outbreak of the virus on banking.
We have this mobile money service that at the end of the day you don't need to even come to the bank. So we called them and they are telling us that maybe sometimes when they even come they fear during the transit system in the car or something, they are not too safe. So some majority are those that we are sending their monies to them. Aboagye, we don't joke with our customers. Yeah, they are first in everything.
In line with the Bank of Ghana's directive to financial institutions to adhere to certain protocols, the Aboagye-Wiafe Rural Bank has provided its customers with disinfected warm water and hand sanitizers. The bank's staff are not exempted. They have been equipped with nose masks and gloves, and they frequently sanitize their hands before and after attending to customers.
We are hoping that, yes, as much as we are mounting the surveillance and we are saying that, yes, everybody is cooperating with the directives given by the President, Bank of Ghana has also directed us to put things in place, to save customers, and we are doing it religiously.
Other businesses are, however, complaining. The manager of Ultimate Majesty Phones in Koforidua, Kwame Edujemfi, told Joy Business product patronage has dwindled.
Government issued a statement that everybody, those in the tertiary schools and everybody should, stay at home. So Monday, that was just this immediate Monday, on that 16th, the town was very, harsh. Now, today, you can't see people. The market has been very down. You can't see anybody.
At a shop, they restrict adherence to the recommended protocols.
Well, let's end it all with still on the coronavirus activity, and governments globally continue to implement some financial interventions to help contain the virus and limit its spread. Countries across the world have taken several steps to mitigate the impact of the virus on their economic systems. Africa still is unique, as large numbers of these economies were already exposed to some headwinds before the COVID-19 began ravaging their economies. We want to explore what sub-Saharan Africa's largest economy, Nigeria, has been doing in this regard and what measures have been taken to limit the impact of the virus. Joining me via Skype is Philip Namfuri, an economic and financial contributor. Philip, good to see you again.
Hello, Emmanuel. Good evening.
Now, what is the picture of responses by governments across the African continent?
Well, largely, the responses don't differ in the sense that we're looking at fiscal measures, we're looking at monetary measures, and we're looking at the health authorities also ramping up on social efforts, such as ensuring that there's some social distancing and stuff like that. But on the economic and financial side, you realize that the fiscal and monetary measures don't really differ across the continent.
And what is Nigeria's story for now?
Well, Nigeria's story is unique in the sense that as a major oil producer on the continent, the largest economy, having pegged oil at $7 a barrel for this year, and oil right now is in the crapper in terms of low prices, you realize that the Nigerian government has limited room to operate. It's taking some measures on the fiscal side, starting with input to the health sector. But you would realize that the Central Bank of Nigeria, it's what we call our Bank of Ghana here, is doing a lot more with regards to stimulus, because Nigerian government depends on 90% of its foreign exchange earnings are coming from the oil industry, and over 70% of government income from the oil industry. So if you already have a crash in oil prices, then you realize that there's limited room in terms of the fiscal space when it comes to Nigeria. So that's why you see that the central bank is doing a lot more for the economy. But both are doing their bit. You realize the situation is dire in the fiscal side as compared to the Central Bank of Nigeria is doing more on paper, all things being equal.
And what do you think should be the way forward on the economic side for all African countries at this time?
Well, on the continent, I would say we face three key issues. Some of these social distancing measures, etc., are going to affect us negatively because of the informal nature in which we run our economy. The other part is that what's happening out there is going to spill over into the region because of the greater interconnectedness we have now. Yeah. So I think what we need is a mix of coordination, collaboration, decisiveness on the fiscal, monetary, and financial measures to ensure that we have that unique mix to keep us afloat at this time. We can't just rely on one strategy. We all come together to ensure that what we are doing to our economies is important. Above all, ensuring that the health of the people are also brought to bear, so that everybody is well and good.
All right, thank you very much, Philip Namfuri, an economic and financial contributor to Joy Business, sharing his thoughts on Africa's situation, Africa's handling of the coronavirus situation globally. And that's it for Business Live. Many thanks for watching. My name is Emmanuel Aboagye-Wiafe. For more business, log on to myjoyonline.com/business. Have a good evening.